It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone. Tuesday night, Waynesboro, WABO, the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and me, Marshall Wood.
That's the exclamation point. Me, Marshall Wood. You can't say me without the exclamation.
There you go. Me. Or
There you go.
yeah.
How you been doing?
I'm doing great. Last week, as you may recall, I was kind of sick.
Yeah, many people asked me if you were okay.
Well, I'm glad that I'm glad both of them did.
I went to a little retirement party up at the library last week.
Yeah.
And one of your guys was, he was really interested in your health.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. His first name was Kenny.
Kenny. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, well, I won't tell you what he said.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. That's my boy K-Dog now.
There you go.
Yeah, we all right. They'll get us kicked off here. Sideline Views always busy. A lot of stuff going on here. I mean, I know you got a guest. We won't go disclose that just yet. We can skip the stuff that the guest might talk about. But let's talk a little bit about baseball. We got a lot of stuff going on with baseball and things like that. Well,
if you'll oblige me for about a minute, I'll just run through some information that I picked up on the high school level.
Yeah, let's have it.
They were just talking about that. Right now it's full sprint for the 7 classes. 5, 6, and 7 got into it. I believe it was last week. Anyway, the notes I have, and these are just random, so I'm going to probably be rambling around here. But in 4A, it looks like the top 2 teams are going to be West Lauderdale and Sumrall.
Imagine that.
And they've been there. They've been there a long time. And
wasn't Sumrall at one time this last decade or so ranked number 1 in the nation?
Oh yeah.
Man, that's regardless of class too.
That's what that NIL money will do for you. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry.
No, I know nothing. I know nothing.
I think Nick Saban made one of them blunders on the draft the other night, didn't he? He said when we tried to get that guy to come out in the portal.
Man, if the truth be known, ain't no telling what's going on.
Yeah.
But we won't ever know.
All right. Anyway, in 3A, they got Forest and Ruleville teams. Some teams that we might not be familiar with, and East Union, and then in 1A, they've got Biggersville and Hollandale Simmons from the north. Yeah. So that's going to be pretty good. I saw where Taylorsville's still hanging around in 1A.
Yeah.
So, those are the kind of the teams like that. Now, Sumrall, going back to 4A, they did take care of Greene County, our neighbors to the south.
Yeah.
And I believe Purvis took care of equipment in 4A.
All right.
And now, of course, Purvis will be hanging around there too. Don't think they're going to go away. They always give Sumrall a pretty good run. And they have a fine program down there at Purvis. I believe that in 7A, they're talking about a bunch of teams. Lewisburg, Germantown, Hernando, and Northwest Rankin, and Oak Grove. Of course, Oak Grove this week is...
Germantown. Isn't that where Kelly Murphy's boys pitching?
I think so.
The Mavericks?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then West Jones is the favorite in 6A. And then the highest ranked 5A team right now is South Jones. And they took care of Gaucher this past weekend. And so South is going to go play Stone County, which 3 of the teams that Wayne County is playing with in their district have made it to the semifinals
South District.
of South District.
South District.
And that is East Central and Van Cleve and Stone County. But South Jones has got, I believe they've got 2 pitchers committed to Southern Miss.
Ooh.
So they're going to be a player in 5A.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty good. And in the private schools, I don't have that much information about them, except to say that Jackson Prep is the favorite in 6A, and Hartfield Academy is one of the teams that, of course, MRA is always pretty good. In the 5A, which I believe Wayne Academy
I believe we are in baseball.
right now they're saying Magnolia Heights is the team to beat.
Wayne Academy's played for a state championship in baseball, probably the last 2 or 3 years in a row, but they hadn't been able to get over that hump. Maybe 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah, they always seem to come up one game short.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know, they got a couple of pitchers over there pitching at East Central, who's the #1 JUCO team in the United States of America again right now. They finished the regular season and they're in the playoffs, and they went to the World Series last year, and I think they won their opening round of playoffs. And, you know, Luke Cooley and Cameron Carlisle are both graduates of Wayne Academy that are pitching.
Yeah. Now, they haven't really started their playoffs. They just ended the regular season.
Okay.
And they got seeding. And the Pearl River is going to host the Region 23. They came out as the #1 team in Mississippi based on the standings.
In the region.
Yeah, in the Mississippi Junior College region.
But East Central's #1 in the United States
Well,
of America.
I understand that. Yeah. But East Central is rated #2 in Mississippi.
district.
So they're going to have to.
They're #2 in their own district.
Yeah, and they're going to have to take on a team in a play-in series. Pearl River and LSU Eunice are going to Pearl River automatically. They got the buys.
Yeah.
Louisiana team, Mississippi team. Yeah. So now we've got 8 Mississippi teams left.
Okay.
Okay, and they'll come down to 4. I know that Jones and East Central and
Northeast.
Northwest and East Mississippi, I think, are all hosting this week.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember my notes from my sideline view.
I want to ask you something. Go ahead.
Before
I forget it. You know, the seeding in the state playoffs, the junior college, is based on ranking in the districts.
Well, it's based on your division record.
The division, which equals ranking.
Yeah,
I mean, the better record than you #1. Okay. Now, when all these teams go to that make it to the World Series, how will they be seeded? Would it be on national rankings, or how will that be done?
I don't know. They've got some kind of formula. I'm not sure.
You know,
I think the more that you've been there, the better rankings that you get.
Yeah.
But the Region 23 champion usually goes to the World Series. Oh. So I'm just saying, when you go to that Region 23 tournament that starts on May 13th at Pearl River, you're going to see some of the top junior college baseball in America.
Yeah. Dale, we're going along on our first segment tonight. Who's our guest tonight?
Hunter Dawkins.
Hunter Dawkins joins us again. What's he going to talk about?
He's going to talk about the NFL draft and the New Orleans Saints.
The NFL draft.
And the Saints are going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, boy. The Saints. Anyway, okay. I'm excited about having Hunter back. We always enjoy visiting with him. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsor, and then Dale and I will be back with tonight's guest, Hunter Dawkins, to talk about the NFL draft and the New Orleans Saints. We'll see y'all right after this break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Hunter Dawkins. How's everything on the coast, Hunter, on this Tuesday evening?
Well, you know, Dale, we're getting a little bit of a rain down here, which is good because, you know, it's obviously when it's dry too much, you're fearful of a storm on the way brewing. But it's getting a little rain today, and it's obviously a good thing for the coast.
All right. Well, listen. Talk to us. Talk to us about your thoughts. First of all, let's talk about the Saints draft and the free agents, some of their signees, and just tell us what you think the Saints' game plan was going into this year's draft.
Well, and what I'll tell you guys beforehand, and this is with everybody, there are a couple of really solid picks, not only for the Saints but for other teams. However, the draft is always the future. It's can this happen? And so I think a lot of the undrafted free agents that I've heard from local media say, you know, they're really sad they didn't get drafted, this, that, and the other. But the key thing for those guys, if they're on a training camp draft free agent contract, they can easily show up, you know, if somebody else gets hurt, things like that. Principles for the draft are who is going, what we need right now, but it isn't necessarily what we'll need in the future. So,
Yeah. Well, that's
but as far as that with the Saints I thought did a pretty good job from at least the top heavy. Fuaga is I don't know how to say his first name, but I'll just call him Fuaga from Oregon State. He is a pretty solid run blocker, great potential player from what the Saints need, and also Kool-Aid in the second round was a big steal. I've seen him play personally, and I think he's going to be a really phenomenal professional athlete. But that being said, that's potential, and we'll just see what happens in the future. The rest of the selections, the Saints usually make some big moves here or there, but they made a lot of out-of-conference picks, at least from Northern Iowa. I can't remember where the other one was from. The seventh-round pick was from not a familiar area. But, you know, like I said, it's all about what you can do when you show up and can't.
Well, that's true, and you know, I don't know if the Saints surprised anybody, but didn't they trade up in the fifth round so they could select Spencer Rattler from South Carolina? Now, yeah.
Well, actually, Dale, to be honest with you, they traded up in the second round to the Packers because what they did was they picked up Kool-Aid and then they gave away 2 of their fifth-round picks because they had 5 fifth-round picks, but they didn't lose. They didn't move up. They just had 3, and their first fifth-round pick was Rattler.
Well, you know, Rattler, just watching him last year at South Carolina and some of the games I watched, you know, I wasn't too impressed with his offensive line, but he did have good feet, you know, and I don't know if, you know, that's a future quarterback in the NFL is going to have some pretty good movement back there. I think it was a good selection. What was your thoughts about him? Because, you know, a couple of years ago we were talking about this cat, you know, being a number 1 draft choice when he was at Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma. Yeah. Was it Oklahoma? Oklahoma State.
Certainly, Dale. You know, he's got a lot of good intangible qualities. However, you know, I saw him in the Senior Bowl this year. Now, of course, he got MVP of the offense, but he just really went down for one series and scored a touchdown. And so I'm not exactly sure how much that should have been played out. But that being said, he's got some unique intangibles. However, just as you said, if that's the future of the NFL quarterback, personally, my selection is, you know, he's going to need to study a pocket passer. You know, hopefully Derek Carr can give him a little bit of teaching ability and be able to stick it out in the pocket because he does have a pretty solid arm. But as you said, Dale, you never really know if there's going to be the future quarterback is going to be running or whatever happens, at least from the New York Saints atmosphere.
All right, well, let's, you know, getting back, you know, that's a great wrap-up on the Saints there, and we appreciate that. Now, if you look at the whole NFL draft, you know, we had like, 5 or 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round, maybe the first 12. I know I felt sorry for the Las Vegas Raiders because they wanted a quarterback and they were the 13th pick, and already 6 quarterbacks have been taken off the board. But in talking about some of the quarterbacks and the unique situation they were in, I thought, Denver taking Bo Nix was kind of maybe a reach. I thought Phoenix going to Atlanta, at first it was a surprise, but then I'm thinking, they just signed a quarterback coming off Achilles issue. So
torn Achilles.
Yeah, so maybe they won't even get this guy back,
Well, he's got a guaranteed $100 million check coming.
Yeah, well, 90 of it is in the first year.
Yeah.
So, they could, dump him after a couple of years and probably not be out much money. I mean, what's $30 or $40 million to lend? We just have to go to Home Depot and buy some.
Well, that being said, Dale, that being said, I'm not so sure Arthur Blake has that much time left to be living, of course. But that being said, I think that the ability of drafting quarterbacks, I think they're looking more into the future, obviously. And Penix is one of the most solid, now professional rookies in the draft. And, Sean Payton wanted to pick a guy similar to Drew Brees with those same qualities, and that he could make, he could develop the offense, at least as Bo Nix has sort of proven to do with Auburn and Oregon. But, it's, like you said, it's a stretch, and that's one of the draft reasons it's potential of what could happen. And there's no guarantee that things are going to happen until, obviously, training camp or the season starts.
Well, I didn't know if the Broncos were still paying for their sins of Russell Wilson. that trade with him. But listen, the first, 3 picks or everything, I was hearing Belichick's comments on the 3rd pick that went to New England, the May boy from North Carolina. Yeah. And then I looked at the 2nd pick, who I thought, honestly, I was really impressed with Jaden Daniels while we were at LSU. I thought he played more of the best conference in football, and he was the best player, definitely, or close to the best player.
I would agree. And the Heisman Trophy proved that.
Yeah, and Williams, I never, I saw him some early in the year, but he just seemed so disinterested the second half of the year. And, you get in the NFL and you got a 16 or 18 game schedule they talking about going to. Or 17, and what they got now is at 17, and they're thinking about going to 18. But if you get
they are thinking about going to 18, but I think Roger Goodell shot that off the other day, from what I heard. So.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it just seems like you better not, you better not just come to the ballpark unless you're ready to play, up there, especially those last few games. But what's your thoughts on the quarterback? Who would you have taken if you'd had the first pick in the draft at quarterback?
Well, and like you said, Dale, it was the first time ever in NFL history that 6 quarterbacks were selected in the first 15 selections. Of course, I'm a little bit more of I like Caleb Williams, and I think he's got some of the it factor. However, like you said, a little diva mentality, that's not going to affect you well in the NFL. I mean, because just as Jerry Glanville said, it's not for long in this league. And, that being said, as far as who I thought was probably the best selection was either Drake May or Jaden Daniels, either one of those guys. The only thing about Daniels would be the fact that he's got to put on some weight. He has to put on some weight because he's got a great arm and he throws the ball in the right locations a lot of times, but you can't be 190 pounds and being knocked on your butt in the NFL. You and I both know that, Dale.
Yeah.
So,
Drew Brees taught us that.
Those 2 guys probably have the 2 strongest arms and probably the most accuracy of the 2 players.
Well, May's just a big physical specimen the way they talk about him, but they say the biggest thing Belichick said was that he just lacked experience. He just didn't have a lot of game experience. Like he barely played quarterback, but maybe I don't know, a year and a half. As far as as a starter.
Yep.
But now I was surprised that the Notre Dame quarterback didn't get drafted. I thought he would be drafted early. But he was the transfer from Wake Forest, maybe, or somewhere down that way.
As I saw Hartman in the Senior Bowl, he just doesn't have a lot of the much needed qualities or intangibles right now. Now he will in the future after playing in the NFL. He'll become a. In my opinion, he's more like a Teddy Bridgewater style type guy. Where he can throw the ball, but he's got to be able to make the right plays at the right time.
Well, listen, the Raiders on the 13th picked the tight end out of Georgia, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And they picked a tight end last year. I know they had a different coach, probably a different GM, but they selected the big Myers kid out of Notre Dame last year. He was a tight end. What are they going to do with all these tight ends? You think Bowers would be more of a slash tight end?
Well, it's like you said, Dale, the tight end perspective from Bowers is probably going to be a hybrid level player. He is going to be somebody that can line up outside. He can also block pretty well inside or a slot back. They can use Bowers in a lot of different positions, just as Kirby Smart did in Georgia.
Yeah. Well, listen, what about our Cowboys? What are they doing? People want to know. Inform us.
Well, there's only one person that knows that deal, and that's Jerry Jones. No matter who all the media the ticket in Dallas, any of those other guys, nobody really knows what Jerry Jones is going to do until it actually happens, including if they're going to re-sign Dak to an extension. Like I said, nobody's really too quite sure about that. They can win 13 games, but their playoff record is not very good the last 25, 30 years.
Well, I saw a post the other day. I don't know if this will make any of you Cowboy fans happy or not, but the Green Bay Packers have won more playoff games in Dallas than the Cowboys have since 1995.
I love it.
So I don't know.
and you don't need to remind my family that very much. Even though I'm a Saints fan, my family is all from Dallas, Texas, and they're not very appreciative.
Oh, listen.
of that. But don't worry, I'll make sure to send them the link to this.
Yeah. Well, tell them that I really, I follow the Cowboys because of Dak. I think Dak's a fine person,
Sure.
and I think it's a lot of pressure playing quarterback basically in the NFL. But when you play for the Dallas Cowboys and you're the quarterback, you got more pressure on you than any other quarterback, maybe except for maybe the New York Giant quarterback. I wouldn't know of anybody else.
Well, and Dale, you're a Southern Miss guy, so Eric Scott's on the defensive back too, as well there also.
Yeah, but anyway, all right. But anyway, I think on Monday I saw that Elliott may come back to the Cowboys as a possible signee at running back, and they didn't draft any running backs, and I don't think they got a lot of maybe 2 or 3 untested running backs over there. So what's your thoughts on the running back situation in Dallas?
Well, and Dale, as you're aware, I'm not a massive Cowboys fan, so I'm not exactly sure what Mike McCarthy is going to be planning to plug into that offensive scheme. But the only thing I can really guess is to look at their free agent list and see who they picked as undrafted. Because they've lost everybody else, is what it seems like. And in my opinion, using Ezekiel right now would be just merely as a blocking back or a third down back.
Well, listen, did the Saints sign any maybe kids from Mississippi as free agents? I know they didn't really draft anybody. I thought I saw something.
Well, the only one of the undrafted free agents is Sean Pearson from Mississippi State, the defensive back. But he's only going to be in rookie camp, is all what he's been invited to. And they're very good. They picked a few good quality players, at least from the local area, at least from Texas and from I can't remember some of the other ones, but a lot of the local areas where they got to really see those kids pro day, and outside of their draft picks. And it's going to be interesting to see. It always, but of course, the Saints this year are not going to be practicing in Metairie because of the. I guess I don't really know. They didn't really give a reason why, but I think it's a possibility of humidity, and also because they might be on Hard Knocks this year. So their training camp is going to be in Irvine, California.
Oh, wow. That's going to be a logistical nightmare. maybe
yeah,
not.
Well, and like I said, I'm not necessarily sure who made the call on that, but if they're trying to get away from the heat or they want to be on Hard Knocks, I guess that's where you go to California.
Yeah. Probably pick up a little extra dough along the way. I hate to say this, Hunter, but we've had such a good time, and you fly by, man. When you're on here, time flies, and it says when you're having a good time, that's what it does. And we've enjoyed you once again, and thank you for being with us today.
Marshall, Dale, I appreciate you guys a lot, and anything I can do for you guys, you let me know, and I'll see y'all next time around.
Likewise, brother. We appreciate you. Dale and I are going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors and be back with the final segment right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Well, old Hunter kind of breaks it down for us, and he's always a pleasure to have on the show, Dale. You got a lot of good buddies out there flopping around and knows a lot about sports.
Well, Hunter's one of them. Say, he kind of lets me know. Hey, if you need a gas, holler at me.
I like it.
I like it.
I
guess he likes some money.
Oh yeah, that's probably what it is. That's probably what it is. We're talking about the NFL draft. Dale, what do you think the odds of a high school football player making it into the draft are? What do you think the odds are? I've done a little research here.
1 in a million.
Okay, well, hey, Ray, that's pretty close. I'm not sure what but this is the numbers. It's out of 1,083,308. 251 make it to pro status. That's 0.023%. That's not even 1% of a chance. And listen to this, only 30% of those drafted will ever make an NFL roster. So out of the 257 that's been drafted at the time I did this research in 2024, only less than 8 of them are going to make a roster. That's a tough road to hoe, Dale, making it into professional.
Well, we've had a couple professional football players. Well, we've had 3 from Wayne County I know of, and I've talked to two of them. But they say people don't realize the pressure on them just going to practice every day because somebody's trying to take their job. How would you like somebody trying to take your job every single day you walked in? I mean, that's pressure. And, somebody's there trying to take your job from you. They're competing against you.
Yeah.
And they want your job. And so, it's tough, but, they're right about the NFL. It's not for long.
Yeah, not for long.
I mean, I think a career is 3 or 4 years at the most?
The average, it's less than 4.
Yeah.
It sure is. And I'm going to go back. This is a quarterback draft, wouldn't you say so?
I would say
and I'm gonna
top heavy.
I'm going to go back right quick. We're running out of time. I'm going to go through some past drafts that might be considered quarterback drafts. The first draft that I go back to were quarterbacks were picked 1, 2, 3. You know what year that was? You know this, Dale. 71.
Yeah.
You know who number 1 was?
Boy from Stanford.
Plunkett. You're right.
Plunkett.
Number 2, come on now.
Manning.
Archie Manning. And number 3 was a name I always loved because it always made me want to get pizza. Pastorini for the Oilers, all right? That was in 70.
And Joe Theismann was in that draft later in the
draft.
Yeah.
I looked at the 93, and the 98, the 83 draft, and there was 6. When Hunter said there was 6, I said, wait a minute, I was thinking out loud, there's already been one with 6, but he said in the first so many rounds. But in 1983, there was number 1, John Elway, number 2, Todd Blackledge, who most of us probably know as a commentator. Jim Kelly, one of the greatest that never could win a Super Bowl, was the 14th pick. Tony Eason was picked by the Patriots that year. 24th, Ken O'Brien, the Jets, and number 27 that year. Danny, boy, you got him, Dale. Dan Marino. Never won a Super Bowl.
But I used to watch. I love watching that boy.
Man, he could chunk. Talk about a quick release.
Oh, he could throw it.
The 99 draft was a good draft. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for quarterbacks taken in the 99 draft. Here's one for you. I would have never guessed this one. I forgot about this guy. Tim Crouch from the University of Kentucky. Air Raid, baby. Remember that guy?
Heisman guy.
Oh, man. Donovan McNabb of the Eagles, who had a good career at Philadelphia, was number 2. I couldn't even remember this guy. Akai Smith? A-K-I?
I think he played at Oregon, or somebody went to Cincinnati.
He went to Cincinnati. You're spot on. He was the 3rd pick. That was 1, 2, 3. Then the next one came Dante Culpepper. Went to yeah, you got it. Dante Culpepper went to the Vikings on the 11th. That's Culpepper, folks, by the way. Yeah, that's right. And number 12, Cade McDowell for the Bears. You like that, don't you, Dale? All righty. Now, 2021, we had a bunch of quarterbacks picked. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville, number 2. Zach Wilson for the Jets, number 3. Trey Lance was picked number 3. And guess where he went to college? North Dakota State. They don't get a top 3 pick every day.
No.
But they had that quarterback. And then Justin Fields was the 11th pick, and Mac Jones from Alabama was 15th. And then, of course, we know what happened this year. 1, 2, 3. Williams.
And only one starting right now is Lawrence, first pick.
There you go.
I mean, I don't know about Jones. Jones may end up starting in New England. I don't know.
It's tough.
But I guess if they drafted somebody, it's going to be a short time. He's on short time.
Short time? That's what we're on, Dale.
He's a short time.
Now that you mentioned we're on short time. Matter of fact, we're out of time.
Really?
Yeah, we are. We'll remind you. First of all, we thank Hunter for being with us. Thank you, Dale, for all you do behind the scenes to make all this come together. I mean, folks, you don't know. It's like you ever seen a duck swimming and nothing's moving but with Dale? I mean, you can't see anything moving, but it's happening, man. It's everywhere. Stuff just happens. Thank you, Dale. And our listeners, thank you.
I don't do as much as you, though.
Do what?
I don't do as much work as you for that.
Oh, yeah, probably. Okay. Thank you for that pat on the back. But anyway, we know better than that. But listen, y'all can follow us during the week on our Facebook page, the Brouhaha. All the shows are cataloged, and you can listen on demand on the YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. But now it's come the time. It's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, folks, and we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.